So this is going to be another kind of impromptu video of mine. So I'm using my cell phone instead of my GoPro. So sorry about that. But anyways, I'm going to be going over what I'm doing to this radiator gap piece. I'm not really sure what the technical name of this is. Before we get into what I'm actually going to do to this piece, I'll show you what it does. So this piece basically just fits up here on the top, and it kind of just surrounds the radiator top to kind of just make it look nicer. And then you can see there's some staples in here. That is where there was a rubber piece that basically just goes over the top of the radiator and kind of fills the gap there. And they only do that for AC cars. So there's just a better seal and there's less hot air leaking towards the, what would it be, condenser. So, obviously this is a very, very rusted piece, and most people would probably just buy a new one or even make one. It's not like a crazy difficult shape to replicate or anything. There is a guy on Facebook that if this doesn't work, I'm just gonna buy his piece because he's only charging $35 for brand new fabricated sheet metal versions of this. But I figured there's been a lot of stuff that I've done where I kind of make it look okay. I don't do a lot of more like high effort pieces. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blast this, get it as clean as I can in the blast cabinet. I'm going to clean it up with some chemical cleaner and everything. I think what I'm gonna do after I have it totally clean is I'm just gonna do some Bondo and just smooth it out as best I can. And I'm gonna sand it, I'm gonna prime it, sand it some more. I'm gonna do all that stuff. I'm gonna do like a proper, 2 or 3 stage paint process on this. I mean, it'll be from a spray can. I'm not gonna do ceramic coating, I don't think, for this. But you never know. So I'm gonna get started on this and let's just see how good we can actually get this thing looking, because yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed with my valve covers because they just didn't turn out good. Should have put in the extra effort to make them look really nice. So I figured this one would be a somewhat simple way to make a good example out of it, and let's just do it, man. And I guess before I get too into this, I just wanted to show this piece. This was something where I did something very similar to the valve covers, where I got it all cleaned up and everything, and then I used that silver PR15 on the entire thing, and then I painted over the top of it, and it still just looked really bad and corroded. So what I ended up doing is taking some 180 grit, sanded it all down as smooth as I could get it by hand, and then I just sprayed like a few coats of sandable primer on top of that. I'm gonna wait a few hours for this to dry properly. I'm gonna go back over this entire thing, sand it again, and then I'm gonna see where we're at on it, and I'm just gonna try to get this looking pretty decent. It's one of the first things you see when this is all put back together. It goes roughly here. It's in front of it's basically behind the plastic grill in the top here. So it's one of the first like metal plates that you would see when you open up the hood. So I kind of want to make it look a little bit better. So that's gonna be a little aside here. So hopefully I'll be able to show you that also before we finish up on old Krusty here. Okay, took about 20 minutes to get out, I'd say, what is that, maybe 8 staples. It's just one of the reasons why this takes a while. If you want to restore a part like this, I have all the materials, so this isn't any big deal. I'm really no real money into this. It's just time consuming, so you gotta have a little bit of time to do it. Okay, well, we're already looking quite a bit better here. It's still very pitted, which was expected, but we got most of the corrosion, the oxidation off of there. I think what I'm gonna try next actually is I'm gonna use some Evaporust, and I'm gonna kind of like put some rags on it and just let it soak for a while, and then I'm gonna scrub it down with a scuff pad and see how much of this like pitting down in those little holes I can get rid of. It's that type of stuff that I don't really want to paint over, because that's something that could potentially pop through any filler or paint that I put on it. So I'm gonna try to get rid of that, see how that works. So if I recall, this is literally the Vaporous recommendation for parts that you can't actually soak the entire object in like a bucket. So what you do is pretty much just spray down whatever the item is, and then you're gonna put these over the top of it, spray it down, get it wet, and it kind of just clings to it like that. And then that's what helps it soak for a longer period of time. So I'm gonna get this soaking, and then while my other piece that I was talking about earlier is still drying, you know, this can sit for a minute. I can finish other piece, and then we can take a look at this and see how far it's come. I took the paper towels that are on it and kind of just soaked the rest of them and just wrapped up underneath. And I took a couple extra ones, put one on the end here. Maybe I'll do another one on this side too. But I'm basically just letting it wrap the whole thing and just soak it. And I don't know, I'll just spray it down one more time just for good measure. I've actually never used this technique, this method of using a Vaporous before, but I've heard that it works good, and I have used it in the past before for the interior. If you haven't seen that video yet, it was pretty intense. But this stuff works pretty well. It's soaking pretty good now. I guess we'll just give it a couple hours and see where it's at. Got good feelings about it. Well, you can see some bumps here in this grill piece, but with the primer on there, it actually looks relatively smooth. There was some big spots up in here somewhere that it was actually just pitting, and oh, here they are. They're very small now. So I think that once I sand this down, it's actually gonna look pretty good. So for the time being, I'm just gonna go grab some lunch or something to drink really quick. I'm dying in here. Forgot to get myself some water. It really is pretty cool what you can do just with basic stuff in your own shop or garage. Like, you know, you don't have to go somewhere to have them dip and remove rust. Like if you got a guy, I actually got an offer from an AMC dude to go use the service like that. And I think that when you have some bigger pieces, it's definitely worth it. Like I have a rear axle that I'm wanting to take off soon, and if I could get something like that just dipped and get it taken care of, it is worth it, especially for those big pieces, because it's just so time consuming. But you really can do a lot with basic stuff in your own garage. So it's really cool to just be able to do this and kind of to show you guys my process. So I'm sitting here, just finished my lunch, and I'm just thinking, man, I could probably spray this 3 or 4 more times with some sandable primer, and I'm willing to bet it still won't fill some of these smaller pinholes. I don't know if you can see here. I kind of scuffed it up just a little bit just to see if it was dry enough to sand. It's not. So what I was thinking about doing though is taking a look over here, and I have some glazing and spot putty. And I was thinking, I wonder if I can use this on paint. And it turns out you can, according to Bondo themselves. They're saying that you can use this on primer or paint. It's probably not recommended. I'm not really sure. I have some other automotive Bondo, and it says to use it on bare metal. So I think the difference is this is glazing and spot putty. It's more designed to fill in some of these things sort of after the fact. So I'm just gonna give it a shot. Worst case scenario, I can take this thing off and fix it again or replace it or whatever, but I think I'm gonna give this a shot and kind of just put it on there, smooth it out in those places where it needs it, and I think I'll be happier with the outcome after that. So I smeared some glaze on there in a couple spots. There's like 2 bigger spots here and here, and then one obviously is like somewhere in the middle there. But it has a dry time of about 30 minutes, it says, before it can dry. We're pretty much on the fastest possible dry time right now because it is 80 degrees in here, and it says 35% relative humidity, but I think this is a little off because outside it's like 18% humidity. I mean, I guess it could be a little bit higher in here. I don't know. But yeah, it's dry and it's pretty warm, so this shouldn't take too long to dry. And by the time then, I can just go through and pretty much sand the entire thing. I have a little less time than I thought I was gonna have today, but I was able to basically get this piece completely stripped and get it ready for the next phase of restoring this part. This is what it looks like, totally stripped. So I got all the big rust off by blasting it in the cabinet, and then I got into the pits of where the rust was with the evaporust. So now all you're left with is bare metal and a lot of pits. There's also those spots where the staples were. I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to smooth those out a little bit if I can. It's not super important because I'm gonna be putting rubber in that area again anyways, where it's gonna be sealing to the radiator. So I'm not gonna get too crazy with it. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but if I can get it looking a little better, that would be pretty cool. So I just wanted to get a good video of where it's at. Like, God, here, let me try to focus in here. Look at how corroded that is. It's just super, super corroded. It's amazing, really. So the next step, God, I can't even stop looking at it. It's just.
Would you look at this?
Yeah, well.
Would you look at that?
Yeah,
it's like the surface of the moon. So yeah, I'm pretty much going to be covering this entire thing with some Bondo. I'm going to be smoothing out the entire thing, and I'm going to sand the crap out of it, and I'm probably going to use some build-up primer. I'm just going to try to get this as smooth as I possibly can and paint it. And I want this to be a good example of what's possible here with a little bit of elbow grease. Right now, I'm getting to the stage where I'm about to put some of that glazed putty on here. This is actually the top side, which is way worse, which you would probably expect. The moisture gets stuck on here and kind of just sits and eats its way into it. And yeah, so I'm gonna have to take extra careful precaution here, you know, just make sure that I'm getting a nice, good, smooth amount of putty on here. It's gonna be a thing. And I washed it off. I actually put some rust inhibitor on here while I let it sit. I was able to come back the same night to try to do some more work on this, but I put some rust block on it. This is another Evaporust product. And this is basically like once you do get this totally free of rust and all that, and you just have bare metal, you use this and it keeps it from flash rusting. So that's what I used. You just rinse it off with water and it comes right off. So I use that, and then I use what I usually use before painting, which is this Duplicolor multi-purpose foaming prep cleaner. I really like that stuff, works really nice. So I have it all clean. I'm gonna use a heat gun to get rid of any moisture and try to get rid of any contaminants. If I see anything weird looking, like bubble up, I might just go over this again and kind of just repeat the process, make sure it's all free of any, you know, oil and grime, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I pretty much coated the entire top of it and then sanded it all down with 180 grit. So you can definitely see some high points in there peeking through. It's definitely smoother to the touch, but it's kind of hard to tell exactly how smooth it is just yet. So I'm gonna clean this off, and I'm gonna hit it with some of that high build primer. Put a few coats of that on there, kind of just let it dry, and that way I think I'll get a little bit better of an idea where I'm at, and like especially when I start sanding that down. So I'm just gonna clean this off and start that process. Little update here. I started sanding the filler primer, or the high build primer, and it didn't really make much of a difference, so I sanded it all down, got it somewhat smooth, cleaned it up, and I put another layer of the filler, the glaze filler. So I'm gonna let this dry, and I'm probably gonna hit this with a sandpaper again and see if it gets a little bit better. It definitely went on smoother this time, so I can tell that I'm making progress. When I'm much smoother this time, like just spreading it was easier, every part of it was easier. It doesn't look super neat, but once this is all sanded down, I have a feeling like it's gonna look a lot better this time. And then I can hit it with primer one more time, sand that down, and then finally put on the top coat. At least I hope so. Okay, just finished up some gloss clear on this top piece here. I didn't do as much prep work on this lip here because that's where the grill covers it. So I focused more on this top piece here, this top section. Still has to dry, so it's kind of hard to see how well it's gonna look. There's a couple tiny little spots I probably could have focused on just a little bit more. You can see one right here. There's another couple right there, I think. But it looks a ton better than it was when I started. It's pretty good. It's definitely good driver quality. So I think seeing how much effort it took to get it to look that good, I'm definitely going to put a lot of effort into this and getting it nice and smooth. Off camera, I actually tapped down some sections where the staples were to try to make it a little more flat, so sanding would be a little more effective. So I went ahead and did that. Let me take this mask off. And yeah, I'm gonna let this dry. I gotta take off for now, but I'm gonna let this dry and come back and sand that down, and hopefully it's nice and smooth this time. It's been a few days since I actually got some work done on this panel. I did a few things in the meantime. I did the rear seat delete. If you haven't seen that video, I did that. And I don't know, I've just been doing random little things here and there. So I took a break from this, but I'm gonna get back to it today. I last coated this. Now I just need to sand this all down. I got some materials earlier today, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that really quick. Hopefully this smooths down enough that I can basically just paint it. So if this gets smooth enough, I won't have to really mess with this anymore. So that's really what I'm hoping for. This is the second time I've used filler on it. Here's where I'm at on this, guys. I got this piece sanded down, and it's, for the most part, pretty smooth. There are a couple spots. There's like the spots where these staples used to be. There's a couple, there's like something right here. It's pretty deep still, and I can't really sand into it unless I want to make it like a smooth dimple. And it's mostly things that are going to be covered up anyways. Like I said earlier, I'm going to have a rubber seal here along the top here, so a lot of this along the edge isn't even going to be seen, thankfully, because that's actually some of the most damaged area. And I've gone over this twice now with filler, and I could go over it again, but I'm still going to have problems because this metal is not perfectly straight. So it's hard to sand it straight when the metal itself is not straight, if you're following them, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. So I'm gonna just get this as good as I can, which I've basically done already. I'm gonna use some filler primer. I'm gonna hope that I can fill in some of this stuff, and then I guess I'm just gonna kind of take it from there. I'm gonna just take a look at it, put my eyes on it, see if the filler did actually fill in any of this stuff. And if it did, great. If it doesn't, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and paint it anyways. I'm just gonna call it good, because it's already looking so much better. This is already miles and miles ahead of what I started with. And honestly, I didn't think that this piece was even savable. And you know, like I said earlier also, that guy has like basically a replacement piece for this. Doesn't look quite as nice, it's not as finished on the edges and all that type of stuff, but he has a replacement, brand new, ready to go, $30. So if your time is not worth it, or you just don't want to mess with it, you don't have the means to do so, you should probably just buy the $30 piece, because this is a lot of work. I've probably already put at least 2 or 3 hours into this piece. So, you know, right now I'm valuing my own labor at about $30 or $40 an hour, which is pretty low for restoration of a piece like this. You know, like if somebody was gonna charge for something like this, I mean, obviously if I did this for somebody else, I would just go ahead and fill it again, sand it down again, probably like try to straighten this out once and for all down here. I would do the extra work, and it would be 6 or 7 hours just for this one piece, and it's just totally not worth it unless you are like hell-bent on using everything original, which in some cases is just not possible. Like if you wanted to get your car restored, I'm sure you could find one of these in better shape to start out with or something. It's just, I think I would have to say most restoration places would probably just pass on trying to do what I'm doing right now. It's just not worth it. But I'm doing it for the sake of doing it. It's a good learning experience for me with using filler and everything. So, I mean, I consider it a win already. But I'm gonna paint it and we're gonna see how much of a win there really is. Okay, so I've done about 3 coats of filler primer. There's still some pitting in here. There's some bumps, there's some scratches, there's a little bit of everything. We're ignoring the staple spots, by the way. But I mean, it looks a lot better. There's actually some runs too, so it's bad enough that I'm just gonna coat it probably 2 or 3 more times, just lay it on nice and thick, and then I'm gonna have to let it dry. So it's gonna at least have to go overnight. I'll let that dry, come back, sand it again. We'll see. If I build up the gumption to do the stupid filler again, then maybe I will, but I just really don't want to. So yeah, I just went ahead and basically used up the rest of my primer, or filler primer can. I basically just went like real stupid with it and just sprayed it on and basically purposely overbuilt it and let it cause a sag or 2 here and there just to fill it in more than necessary. I don't know if that's gonna work. I am gonna have to sand the crap out of it regardless, so I will be able to fix it. I'm just gonna basically use my 180 grit again, and I'm just gonna bring it all back down to nice and smooth anyways. So I'm hoping that that's gonna be good though. I did spray it on super thick, so that means I'll be able to really cut it down a lot in those areas, smooth it out hopefully. So yeah, until tomorrow or Sunday or whenever I can get here again. Alright, so I sanded it down once again. This is after spraying it with the filler primer. So I got it all covered, sanded it all down. I sanded it with, I think it was 320 to get it nice and smooth. And yeah, without like going over this a 3rd time with filler, this is about as smooth as it's gonna get, and this is gonna be plenty fine for a nice driver quality panel. So this is the stuff I'm gonna be using. It's just regular old primer basically. I'm gonna spray it down real quick just to make sure there's like small little spots where bare metal's poking through. We're just gonna make sure that's all covered nice and even, and then it'll be ready for the final coat of paint. Well, not final, but you know, the paint, then the clear coat. Stuff is really spraying out pretty badly, so hopefully it coats pretty well. Yeah, part of the problem is just it's really hot and dry right now, so you gotta be really careful with the distance because it just wants to dry before it even hits. So it's a little tricky today. Okay, so I have it all primed once again, nice and even. Now I'm going to apply my last stage here, well, the paint stage of the painting. It's actually Duplicolor, it's all I could get this time, and it's just solid semi-gloss color, so this should work just fine. Try not to go too heavy on this, so it doesn't have a lot of coverage just yet, but it's looking decent. There's a couple spots in here, I think it's just kind of like gouges where it didn't really sand down very well, but other than that, it's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna do a couple more coats and we'll take a look at it. Okay, this is after the 2 light coats and then 1 medium coat. Looking pretty good. I think I might do just 1 more coat, just to fill in this coat just a little bit. It's a little spotty. I think it's just because the surface isn't like, it's not like a mirror finish. On this side it's a little less perfect because I left it that way. This is the side that I'm focusing on, but it's looking really good. I'm honestly surprised at how well this is turning out already. So yeah, I'm gonna do 1 more medium coat and then I'm gonna clear coat it. Okay guys, I put an extra coat of paint on there. I am missing my satin clear coat, but this is looking really good without it, and I think it's gonna be just fine. So that's it. That turned out really well. That actually turned out really nice. Very unexpected. I'm gonna flash the before and after just to have one last look at that. That's pretty awesome. So that's it for now. I'm sure I'm gonna have some more stuff that I'm gonna have to make nice look in here. Well, definitely the entire body of the car. So that'll be in the future. Probably quite a bit in the future. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Please like the video, leave a comment, and if you really like the channel, you like what I'm doing, I suggest you subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys. Later.